Hello and welcome to City at a Glance. I'm Kelly DiMartino. Today we're going to be talking about the role of tourism and how important that is to our community. As always, we're pleased to have joining us City Manager Darin Atteberry. Darin, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Kelly.
I'd like to introduce Ben Costello, who's with Mountain Whitewater Descents and also a member of the Fort Collins Convention and Visitors Bureau Board. Welcome.
Absolutely.
Jackie O'Hara, another member of our board and with Jet Marketing. Jackie, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
And then Jim Clark, who is the Executive Director for the Fort Collins Convention and Visitors Bureau. Jim, welcome.
Thanks for the invitation.
So Darin, I'm going to ask you to just kick things off for us a little bit by talking about kind of the visitor experience in Fort Collins and why tourism is something that as a community folks should know about.
Well, that's a big question. You guys are obviously the experts on this, and I know when I have visitors in town, they love it and they don't want to leave, and it's a cool place, and they bring back friends, and you know, we obviously do what everyone does and bring people down to see Old Town Square. We take them to the university and on and on and on. But in the 17 years that I've been here, that visitor experience has gone far, far bigger and greater than just Old Town Square and the university. And so I hope we get a chance to talk about some of those things. But, you know, I guess for me, first of all, thank you for initiating this conversation. I think the timing is wonderful, and it's a very important topic. I think you guys are doing an incredible job, and I'm really, really thankful for that. But I know each one of us are about always trying to get better. So we're going to probably hear today a little bit about what we're doing to make this experience you know, just that much better. I love, Jim, a few years ago when, you know, you were talking about this stay vacation, I'm not sure what we called it, but this idea that you don't have to go away to play. You can take your time here. Fort Collins residents, area residents can stay and play and do lots of cool things. So I'm looking forward to that on this show. And again, I think the topic is very relevant. And you know, on this show, we always talk about world class. And so we want the visitor experience to be world class as well. So again, I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys today very much.
Great.
Okay. Well, Jim, maybe I can ask you to start by just helping people understand a little bit about, from the Fort Collins Convention and Visitors Bureau perspective, what are some of the main elements that the CVB provides? And let's talk a little bit about that organization, and then we'll talk about really the impact it has on the community and that visitor experience.
Sure, Kelly, thanks. Most every community now in the United States and all over the world has something called either a Convention and Visitors Bureau, it's called Visit Denver in Denver, has different names internationally, but we're organizations that are usually nonprofit, some are government, and our primary mission is to attract visitation here in terms of both people who are attending meetings and conventions, to help business travelers, to attract people here for vacations and provide services to them so they stay, spend money hopefully, and have that world-class experience that Darin really talks about. And we are that kind of a destination, there's no question. One of the things we do is we do advertising, marketing. I think you may have seen recently the livability.com piece on downtown Fort Collins. We worked on that, and through our PR office, we worked to get positive publicity through travel publications and other publications. We operate two visitor centers too. One is the Downtown Information Center right in Old Town Square. We also operate under contract with the state, the Welcome Center that's out at I-25 and Prospect. And so both of those provide a lot of services. To the groups and conventions that come here, we help them organize their meeting spaces. We can help them find softball fields, meeting facilities, caterers, recreational activities. We work closely with our Parks and Recreation Department to help put groups in town that are here for sporting events. So it's a combination of sales, service, marketing, and providing information. One other thing I'd mention is we have a great website. It's not just for visitors. Our residents can use all these tools as well. Our website is visitftcollins.com, has a great events calendar on there that we keep updated, so any of those are available to anyone in the public.
All right, great, thank you. So one of the reasons that tourism it matters so much, right? We certainly want visitors to have a great experience when they're here, and we like to show off our community, all those great things. One of the things that's been interesting to me is the economic impact that tourism has in Fort Collins. So Jackie, if you and then maybe Ben from the business perspective as well could talk a little bit about that component, that would be helpful.
Sure.
When I talk to people about tourism and being on the Convention and Visitors Bureau board, they really want to know, what the heck is that, And so it's been fun to tell the story of how when visitors come to our town and they stay in our hotels, they pay a lodging tax. And that lodging tax then comes back to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. Not 100% of it. We share with the arts community as well. But that gives Jim and his staff the money to then do the marketing, and it keeps that wheel turning. The other thing that happens is that when visitors come, they spend money in our restaurants and our shops, and that equates to sales tax. And then that helps those of us who live here to enjoy city services that sales tax often pays for. And, so it creates a better experience and environment for us as well as for visitors. So it is an economic engine that's just kind of, it just keeps working. One thing helps the next. And I'm a small business, so I'm a service business. I'm not exactly in tourism, but being a resident here, I can play the role of being really welcoming to people who come here, being that ambassador. I can certainly encourage friends, family, business associates to come to Fort Collins. I can encourage business groups to have their meetings here. So I can do a lot of things as just a resident to really support tourism that then in turn supports the community in which we live and to make it more vibrant for us. So it's a little bit selfish maybe, but it really all plays off of one another.
Great. Ben, how about from your perspective?
Well, for us, tourism is a huge part of what we do. We take around 7,000 to 8,000 people rafting on the Poudre River each summer. I believe outdoor recreation is among the top 3 reasons for people to come to Fort Collins. So
Correct.
It's a big, driving force for us. About 65% of those people who we take, around 60 to 65%, are also repeat business. So for us, our goal is to not just have people come see us and visit Fort Collins, but to come to Fort Collins and stay and come back. Because it is such an amazing community and an experience that people truly value. When we talk to our guests who are here that have come rafting with us, we hear nothing but positive things about the community, about how friendly people are, and how they just can't wait to come back and visit us again.
You guys are real ambassadors for us. Well, you've got them in your boats.
We do. We get a captive audience for anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. So our guides and all of our staff have a really very direct impact. I believe in 2006, only about 2% of rafting visitors would stay in Fort Collins and eat or shop. And in 2010, that number had climbed all the way up to 50%. So that's certainly growing for a number of reasons. I think just popularity of what we do and of the sport, which is growing, but also, we work with some other businesses in town, and we do packaging, which I think has helped. When you go rafting in the morning and you have an activity that you're going to do already in the afternoon, you fill that time by eating and shopping downtown.
I don't think Ben blows his own horn enough, because after that initial research study and they saw that a small percentage of people that were rafting were actually staying or spending any money in town, they took it upon themselves to develop those packages. It wasn't really for much financial benefit for Mountain Whitewater. It was to help out the destination. They've done a marvelous job.
So maybe we could have a city person come onto each of your boats and give staff presentations.
You know what? We're open for any type of cool interpretive opportunities.
There we go.
One thing we're looking to do is to do we have a unique opportunity for interpretation with the recent fire.
Right.
And so
cool.
It's a neat opportunity for folks to come and see an ecosystem regenerate, see what's a natural, occurrence. And so we're looking at that as just another way, as something else that we can add, some more education for our guests. And so I'm sure if someone from the city wanted to come out and share some information, I'd be okay with that.
Kelly would do it. Only if the two of us get to do that every one of these presentations.
So do we have a sense of where people are coming from, right? You talked about, there were some pretty big numbers that are people coming from out of town. Where are folks coming from? Do we know that?
Sure do. We do research study every few years to find that out. It's a visitor profile study done by professors at CSU. And in the summertime, the number one market for us is Colorado. Our own backyard, Darin talked about staycations earlier. That's where a lot of people come from. Our most frequent visitors are within our own state. After that, our number 2 states are California and Texas. That's also the same market mix that the state of Colorado has. So we really kind of parallel people that are coming to the state. And a lot of the folks that are coming here are destination bound for Fort Collins, but many of them are coming here as part of a visit to Fort Collins and Estes Park and some other things around the northern Colorado region, and we'd like to make them kind of make their home here. CSU is also a big part of what drives people here, and as Ben mentioned, outdoor recreation, CSU, and our breweries are the 3 major reasons people come to Fort Collins.
Well, and I think the more often people do come and they do their combo trip with Fort Collins and Estes Park, and the more they see us, then they make that second trip, maybe the next couple of years, and come to visit us, I think, in Fort Collins.
Yeah, we see a ton of repeat business.
Jim, I'll tell you, I think when we add facilities like the Museum of Discovery, and there are, just yet, I oftentimes, as I said earlier, talk about world class, and we've got, the Museum of Discovery, any city in America, large, small, or medium size, would want that facility in their community. We just completed a $26 million commitment to our heritage, culture, and science, and how those have come together have been spectacular. So do you think that these pieces keep adding to these choices, adds to the attractiveness from a visitation standpoint?
No doubt. I've been in town almost 8 years, and I can tell you from the time I began until today, I continue to see progress being made and every bit of in a positive direction. The Museum of Discovery is a great example. We're well known, like I just mentioned, for outdoor recreation and breweries, but breweries and children aren't exactly always the best combination. So family activities have been something we wanted to see more of, and along comes the Museum of Discovery. Perfect timing, right as we're moving into becoming more and more nationally and internationally known. Now we have a more rounded product for visitors, not just for adults, but for children as well. I worked in a city a number of years ago that had a museum of science and industry, and it was an incredibly popular attraction. It was something that was reasonably priced that families enjoyed, and just like with rafting, people come back and back and back to visit those. I think and it's on the river. I think it's just going to be the beginning of a lot of exciting things that are going to happen up and down that North College corridor. Downtown is growing and getting better all the time.
Yeah.
Well, and I would also think with seasonal things as well, right? I mean, rafting is a limited season, and so something like the museum is going to bring some additional year-round activities, which are going to be really beneficial, I would think.
And I've talked to so many people that aren't used to even north of downtown and aren't really aware of where that museum is, and I just really think it's going to broaden the horizons for everyone who lives here, and with the Mason Street corridor being right there, it's just really all coming together in this really nice vision piece for visitors and for people who live here. So again, it all plays together.
But I might add one thing. It's going to be important we tell people about it. Our community, and let's expand to say all of northern Colorado has a population of roughly 270,000 people. So for the museum to be successful in the long run, it's going, like any museum, it's going to have people coming there from out of town. That out of town visitor is going to really be important. I'm guessing that's probably going to start with, I'll bet we'll see a lot of school groups from Denver and the Front Range and other places coming up to see it, because from everything I've seen from the initial programming, it looks like it's going to have some very, very unique pieces to it that aren't represented anyplace else in Colorado.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. We're talking about tourism in Fort Collins, and we've been talking about really just what a great foundation we have here in this community, and so many great things to show off, businesses that really help with that experience. Let's talk a little bit now about what some of maybe the challenges we have related to tourism might be. And I know the Convention and Visitors Bureau has been doing some strategic planning work, and so I'd like to talk a little bit about looking ahead, what you see as some of the biggest priorities. So, Jim, you want to maybe kick that off?
Well, I think one of the biggest priorities we face, there's a couple. I think in the short term, Ben mentioned the fire. We're going to have in the short term to deal with the aftermath of the High Park fire and what that's done to our recreational corridor being the Poudre Canyon. In the long term, one of the things that's happening is a lot of the mountain resort communities have decided that they need to be year-round destinations. So a number of Colorado destinations have really started to increase their marketing budgets and go after market share. We are close friends with our competitors, and we are also they are also our competitors, and we do a lot of co-opetition. But at the end of the day, one of the things we're trying to do is, first of all, get more positive publicity for Fort Collins. We want people to come here, see what a great place this is, spend their money, give a lot of tax dollars to us, and then turn around and go home so that they don't use too many of our services. Along with that, we want to try to get more group business in this market, particularly in the off-season. We are very busy in the summer, as I think anyone who walks around town will see. In the spring and the fall, not so much so. Co-ops with people like CSU Athletics and some other people can help us with that. And then finally, work on continuing to support some of the product infrastructure that's being developed. We talked about the Museum of Discovery earlier on the show. There are other things we need to work on down the road in terms of signage, getting more active tours. We have local companies that are wanting to start some actually small motor coach type tours, very small around the city, walking tours downtown, and build that product some more. So those are some of the things we face. But there's also a resource issue of being able to compete with the big dogs.
How do we address some of the community values that come into play? I think when we talk about this, bringing people in, how do we showcase, again, maybe not the things that immediately come to mind, but that deeper community value we have? Thoughts about how that happens, either in the business side or the CVB side?
I'll start again. One of the things that I think is really important is visitors today. We're not a destination like Orlando that's a lot of theme parks and thrill rides and things like that. People who are coming here are generally very highly educated, and a lot of them are here because they're interested in this community. They've heard about it. And we get lots of questions from people knowing, what makes this place so great? Why do I hear about what a great place this is? And so we try to carry the message of sustainability, for one. We try to carry the message, especially with the events here in town, of responsibility, both when it comes to trash and alcohol. We talk a lot about cycling and what a great alternative transportation form that is for people that are visiting here, using the bike library, using our amazing bike trails. So it's really important for us if somebody comes to Fort Collins. I often tell people, if you only take one tour, take the New Belgium tour. Don't care if you like beer or not. New Belgium's tour really emphasizes the issue of sustainability and what a lot of the values of this community are. You can see the largest private solar array in the state of Colorado. That's something we're proud of.
That's great.
What about, Jim? We have a very high performing university, and so there are a lot of visitors that come in related to the university. What do you do, or how do you capture them so that they may be here for a day and a half meeting, but how do you get them to stay another day? Tomorrow I'm flying out to Williamsburg, Virginia, and I've got a meeting at William and Mary's University College. The meeting is about 3 days, and I'm staying about a half a day longer just because it's Williamsburg.
Sure.
How do you do that in your business? How do you the person who's here to learn about clean energy, let's say, or water engineering at the civil engineering department, how do you know that they're here and then try and keep them here for an extra half a day or day?
For a rafting trip or something.
Or for anything.
For whatever.
Or an art gallery visit.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, my perception is that a lot of people that are coming to Fort Collins may actually be tied to learning, and that's the benefit of having the level of university that we do. But any thoughts about that?
For example, that's where our guest services and visitor services department comes in. We don't catch every group, but we're pretty well tied to many of the folks at CSU that are doing conferences. We provide visitor guides and welcome bags that are informational to everyone who's coming here, as well as some information in advance. We like to make sure that as many visitors as possible, say coming to meetings at CSU, or business travelers for that matter, hit our website and are able to look on that website and find things that are going on in the community. We do coupon distribution to those folks that are coming here. We distribute about 45,000 of those a year to different groups and people that are coming in town to try to get them to take advantage of either a restaurant discount or a special offer at a rafting company or a museum visit, whatever it might be. And that's one of the things that's really important, is making those links and connections with people like Colorado State's Conference Services Department, for example. They're represented on our board of directors. We work closely with them. We even partner with the athletic department in terms of cooperative advertising. So if somebody's coming here for a game, our advertising campaign with them also directs them to our website for information on lodging, and hopefully we can keep them a little longer as well.
Do you work with, I'm sorry, may I, just one more question.
may.
Do you, I went to college in San Luis Obispo, California, and then I went to graduate school in Atlanta. There is nothing better for me than making a visit back to San Luis Obispo or back to Atlanta, and sort of, just visiting your old campus.
place,
And
yeah.
so do you do a lot of work with the Alumni Association to try and draw people who spent 4 to 8 years, 10 years of their lives here? And
We do. Some of it is alumni and athletic because it's all kind of a triad, if you will. We're fortunate that one of the folks at the Alumni Association down in Denver, for example, is a former Chamber of Commerce employee. So we do a lot there with social media, connecting with their social media channels and making sure that the activities that they have going on, that we partner up with things we have going on in the city. So that they have the connection with the alumni, but we can add on to that with some things that are not necessarily university related, but that are city related. And that's an important link for us. We want people to come back to CSU. It's not only good for the economy, it builds that connection with Colorado State, which benefits us all.
And I think our board, too, we have a 20-plus member board that represents a lot of different industries in Fort Collins. The ones you would think of, restaurants, hotels, travel agents, but also the arts community is represented, and CSU is represented in a couple different ways. And it's great every month we get together and we really learn what's happening, and then those people can take it back to their organizations and continue that discussion about how can we make the visitor experience better, and knowing what's happening and how can we, tag on to that and that kind of thing. So I think the size of our board and that networking, the communication distribution through those people is important for us.
great.
So along these lines, as I'm listening to you, you're kind of talking about the connections, and it spurs a thought about something you said earlier with ambassadors, right? That frontline staff really are the ambassadors. So in many of our restaurants, you might have a lot of turnover in some of these folks who have a lot of interaction with visitors. So I'm curious, how do we build that ambassador base in our community? And Ben, I'd be curious to hear what you think.
Well, one thing that we do is a big part of being a raft guide is the training that you have to go through to not only know how to do the technical aspects of guiding, but we teach a lot of things about our community and why it's great, so that we know our guides are communicating the right things. CVB recently did hospitality training for members, which I think was a very popular event that we did. And again, just for any of those frontline folks who are going to be talking to the tourists and making sure that they know what resources we have. They know about all these wonderful partnerships we're talking about, which is one of the, I think, best reasons to be in business in Fort Collins. Everybody really does want to work together. So it's just a matter of training and making sure that the folks that are those ambassadors are taught the right things, and that they have that value. And the people in charge, the managers, the supervisors, need to know that and make sure that those people are kind of on the right track.
And I've been at many a restaurant where the guest asks the waitress, where is such and such? And when the waitress doesn't know, I interrupt politely and help them out and try to, again, be that ambassador of sharing my local knowledge, because really they just want the answer. And so, without embarrassing the wait staff that didn't get the right training, but to try to help them out as much as we can.
We do, as Ben mentioned, work on those programs, and as resources permit down the road, there's some additional ones we want to do. It is like pouring water into a leaky bucket because there is a lot of turnover, so it's always a challenge. I'll say something though. We get a lot of comments from visitors about not only how friendly the town is, but how much people here love the town. Not only just that they're knowledgeable, it's not that they just answer questions, they do it with a passion. I think it's one of the things that we have is unique, and there's no way you can create that. That's part of the DNA of the community. But it's very refreshing every time we get those feedback.
You know what, Jim, let me say that if you've read any of Jim Collins's work, he wrote the book Good to Great and Built to Last, and now Great by Choice. One of the things he talks about when drinking the Kool-Aid, he talks about that he refers to that as the flywheel. You gain so much momentum that you just start, you're really, really reinforcing quality and world class and those sorts of things. And I think the only, which we talked about earlier, the only caution is that you need to also be paying close attention to what your vulnerabilities are. So as we're all drinking the Kool-Aid, and we love this place, and I love, I just, every one of us around the room, I don't know you very well, Ben, but I know that you love this place, I can tell. And I agree, Jim. When I go out to restaurants in this community, I'm constantly asking servers, "What do you like about Fort Collins? What do you?" And it resonates, and you can see how passionate they are about that, and that's what Jim Collins calls the flywheel.
Yes.
It's you just get this momentum, and it keeps going and going and going.
Self-sustaining.
And if we can do that as a community, but at the same time be very mindful of our vulnerabilities. So you don't get so blinded that we're so great that whack, something comes off or comes along and knocks us off at the knees. That's going to continue to make sure we become a great community.
Couldn't agree with you more. And one of the interesting things about tourism is that it's really growing a lot as an industry. It's the largest industry in the world, second largest in the nation, second largest in the state. And because it's gotten so much more attention in the last 10 or 20 years, there's a lot more players, it's more competitive, but there's also a lot more, what would be the word I'd want to use, good practices out there. And I think we always have to stay on top of our game, because the minute you get to the top, somebody's going to try to knock you off. It's competitive. Right. And I think that we always have to be mindful that while we're good, sometimes it's a bad thing to believe your own press. We get a lot of good press, but we need to deserve it. I agree with you.
Right. And the other thing I think that's addressed in your strategic plan for the Bureau is, we've had some big groups that have come to town over and over and over, but you just never know when they decide to try someplace else, or if there's an incentive from another community to go to another place. And so we have to be mindful, and that's part of the strategic plan, is what if, and then who are some other groups, and what are some other things that we can be developing in case those types of situations happen. So
exactly.
Great. So smart planning for today and smart planning looking ahead as well.
Absolutely.
So we are at the end of our time. I knew this would happen quickly. Jim, any quick final thoughts?
It's a great destination. I'm proud to serve it. Let's keep doing it. Keep making Fort Collins great. We love selling it.
All right, thanks for being here, Jackie.
Yeah, I am tourism, you are tourism, everyone's tourism. That's my message.
All right, thank you. Ben?
Yeah, Jackie's right. And it's a fabulous community. We just need to have people keep visiting us and keep up the hard work, and I think it'll work out well.
All right, thanks for being here. Darin?
You know what, we are so lucky to have the four of you in this community and doing the work you're doing. I love that, that so many people love this community and are committed to making it better. So I just would say on behalf of the city and our community, to each one of you, including you, Kelly, because this is an area you're asking lots of questions. You play a significant role in these discussions and beyond hosting this show, and you do a great job. And I know you all work very, very well together. So we're extremely well served by each of you, and I really appreciate that. Appreciate the individual roles that you play. And we got a great place. Our job at the city is we want to continue to deliver world-class services, so it makes your job easier. Promise you, that's what we're working on.
It's an honor. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Darin. I appreciate that. All right, that concludes this edition of City at a Glance. Thanks for joining us.